Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is Rachel's Rustics. Today I have 3 easy farmhouse rustic DIYs. I hope that you enjoy them. Let's get into the video.
Okay, so here I have a wooden tag sign that I purchased from the Dollar Tree, and I'm giving it a coat of Waverly Ivory chalk paint. And here I left this in here to show you that whenever you're not using your paintbrush, but you need to use it again, you can wrap it in a baby wipe and it'll keep it from drying out. So then I give this a second coat of that same paint and I use my heat gun to dry it. I wanted this to have a shiplap look to it, so I grabbed my square and I took a pencil and just made some lines, try to get them as even as possible, and use my finger to rub that in a bit. So then I take the Waverly Steel chalk paint with a finer tipped paintbrush and I just go over those lines. I'm not worrying about being precise or having it be straight because I want it to look rustic. So then I take this same steel chalk paint and I use kind of a dry brush just to make this look a bit rustic and old. And I'm not worried about getting heavy-handed with it because I'm going to go back over it right here with some more of that ivory chalk paint. And I go over the spots where I got it a bit heavy-handed, soften those lines of the shiplap. Then I sand the whole thing down. I really focus on getting the edges really well. And then I wipe it off with a paper towel. So this is Tim Holtz Distressing ink, and this is the color Antique Photo. I use this quite often, especially on a lot of the signs that I use this ivory chalk paint with. It just gives it a really nice antique look to it. And I really focus on the edges. And then once I get the edges and then even the inside of where the hole is in the tag, then I go over the entire thing. Just look at the color that it gives it. It's beautiful. This is a sampling pack that I got off of Amazon, and it comes with 4 different colors. Okay, so then I printed out a vinyl decal using my Cricut, and I used the Oracle flat matte vinyl. It says, "Text me if you run out of toilet paper. I know you're on the phone." And I just go ahead and weed that. And then right here I realized that I ripped off the apostrophe and my sweet husband helped me find it. So then I just take this transfer tape and I cut out a piece that'll fit on top of that vinyl. And I just apply it. I use my little Cricut tool to varnish it. And I always save my Cricut transfer tape because you can use it over and over again. Just make sure that the surface of whatever you're using it on is nice and clean. So then I take some lamb's ear and a piece of cotton that I got from, I believe, Walmart. And I kind of doll the sign up. Trying to go back and forth of what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to use 2 pieces of the lamb's ear or 3 pieces, and I decide with 3 pieces on each side. And I took a piece of jute rope and I put it back through the hole in the top of the tag. Alright, so here's the end result. I think it's really nice. I like the different colors and textures of all the different paints and inks. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, so I got these jars at the Target dollar spot. And it came with 2, and I believe it was $5. It was either $5 or $3 for the 2 of them. and I take some chalk paint that's like this real light gray color. I believe it's French linen, I forget the brand of it, and I mix some baking soda with it so it gives it a nice thick texture. So then I just take a paintbrush and I go over the glass just one time. I'm not trying to get real heavy-handed with or anything. I'm going to need 2 or 3 coats for this, and I just go over the entire glass, making sure I get the top too. And at the end I go over the inside, just over the rim part of it, and I blow dry that a little bit. And then I take a better paintbrush. This is one I use all the time, especially for distressing. And the longer your paint sits there, the thicker it gets, I feel anyway. And so I just go over this again, and I'm making sure to be real light-handed with it so I don't rip off the paint that I put there in the first place. So then this is the 3rd coat, and there's only a couple spots that you're going to need to touch up, and you can be a little rougher with this, but the longer it sits, the better it's going to turn out, because it needs to get really dry in between those coats. Otherwise you're going to rip it right off the glass. This is Dollar Tree faux leather ribbon, and I wanted to decorate the top of the jar using this. So I measure and cut a piece off that'll go around the top of the jar. And I go ahead and glue that down using some hot glue and go all the way around the perimeter of the top of the jar. Then I wanted to create a handle, so I take another piece of this same ribbon and I just measure and cut about the length that I need it to be. But because you're going to see the inside of this leather ribbon and how it's not finished, I cut another piece the same size as the first piece, and I'm going to glue that together so that it looks the same on both the front and the back. Now I've used this leather ribbon before, and if you use just one line of hot glue down the whole thing, you're going to see that line. So I do a zigzag motion so it smooths out a little bit better and the hot glue doesn't show as much. So then just make sure it fits the way that I want it to, lay it down how it's going to be. And then I decide that I want to kind of curve the edges of this ribbon. So I do that with this side here, and then I take that side and I just lay it up against the second side and I just cut that to make sure that it's the same. And then I hot glue that to the top of the jar, making sure that I cover that first seam that I created. So then I wanted to decorate it a little bit more. I felt like it was just kind of missing something. So I found these upholstery tacks that I purchased, and I cut the tack part off and I just glue that down on the part here that I glued to the perimeter. You see what I mean. Sorry, my head's in the way. And it took a really long time to cut the pin part off of these upholstery tacks. So I suggest if you do this, use a stronger pair of wire cutters. It took me a very long time to get this done. And my hands hurt. It looks so good. So then I grabbed some peonies that I got from the Dollar Tree, I believe. I grabbed white and like a pinkish kind of color. There they are. And I decided I'm just going to throw a couple of those flowers into this jar. I'm not going to use floral foam or anything like that. It's really not necessary in this jar. So I just grabbed 2 of each. I push the leaves up to the flower so that you can see them sticking out. And that's it. Beautiful. Let me know what you guys think of this one too. Alright, so the last one. So I took this home sign that I got from the Dollar Tree. I've seen quite a few of these signs. I believe there's one that says love, home, and then there's one more that I just recently saw, but I don't remember what it says. And I used the chalk paint Waverly brand, and this is the color Mineral, and I just go over this. I'm not too worried about getting full coverage. I am going to distress this in the end, and I try to make sure that I get in around all the edges and on the inside of the letters to make sure that it's all the same color. And then any spots that I noticed were just a little lighter than I wanted, I went ahead and touched those up. So then this is also just a little treat or tray that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I used that same mineral colored chalk paint from Waverly to paint this. And I did go a little heavier with the paint on this one because I want them to look similar, but I did want a little bit of difference, and I went on the inside just a bit, just in case you could see on the inside. Then I take this ivory chalk paint again, and I use a distressing brush to go ahead and distress this sign a bit. I go heavier in some spots and lighter in others. I just really want it to look old and worn, like there's lots of layers of paint on this. And I make sure to go ahead and get on the inside edges too, to make sure that I cover every part of it. I do the same thing to the tray. I do all four edges. I don't think I went on the inside of this tray at all. You're not going to be able to see anything on the inside of this tray. And I just always try to start and focus on the edges a little bit more. So here I am just lining these up, making sure that it's going to line up the way that I want it to. When I decide that I want to add a little something to this sign, I felt like it was missing something. So I found this, I believe for about $10 at Walmart. It's just like this, like a vine that's got wire on the inside, and it's just these little leaves, and I think it's just adorable. So I see how full I want to get it. I wrap it around a couple times, and I cut that wire down. And then I go ahead and wrap it back up and use the very end of it to secure it to the rest. You'll see what like, just like that. You just kind of wrap it around the end, and it creates that wreath for you. So then I attach this just using some normal hot glue. So I felt like it was still missing a little something, so I took just some tiny flowers that I had that I thought would look good, and I take, I don't know, 5 or 6 of those, and I glue those to that little wreath that I just created. I want this to be a type of decor that you could use year-round, so I try to keep the colors neutral. If I was doing something like just for Christmas, I would use probably like a red poinsettia type flower, or summertime I would use pinks and purples and things like that, but white I feel like you could use year-round. So here's where I take some just some craft sticks, and I got these at the Dollar Tree as well. I decide which side of that little sign I like the best, or that tray, and I take some hot glue and use that to attach these two pieces of wood together. This isn't going to be on the wall. I'm going to have it sitting on a shelf, so I'm not worried about having it too secure, so the wood glue and the sticks are going to be just fine. Then I take some floral foam and I cut this down to size, just using a little paint scraper that I had on hand and making sure that that fits inside. And I take some hot glue and I just glue that down. Here I have a bag of, this is the reindeer moss, I believe. No, Spanish moss. The reindeer moss, I believe, is like a darker green. And I take this Spanish moss and I go all the way around the edges. And I realized that I don't want the green foam to be able to be seen through the sides. So I'm going to take that paint scraper and I'm going to cut that down just a little bit. And I'm also not worried about having too much moss in there because you're not going to be able to see it. I'm going to cover this in succulents. So here I just take the extra piece of foam out that I didn't want there so that I could take that moss and cover up those holes so that it all looks the same on the top and the sides. This stuff is super messy, so make sure you have something underneath of the moss when you're using this. And here I just take a pair of scissors and I'm just trimming everything down. So this is a box of succulents that I got from Amazon. I think there was, I don't know, 15 or 20 or so in this box. I'm trying to find the ones that I want. I want some taller, some shorter. I try to get the taller ones towards the back. And I just use my wire cutters to cut that stem down a bit. I normally get my succulents at the Dollar Tree or Walmart, but I was looking for something a little different, and that's why I came across these ones on Amazon. That purple one there that you can see in the top right corner has like a fuzzy kind of texture, which is really pretty. So that's it. I think this is one of my favorite pieces that I have created so far. It's very farmhouse, very neutral. And then here is the final look. Let me know what you guys think. Please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. I really appreciate you guys, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.